A school in Franklin County is coming to the rescue of a community member in need.
Students are using their artistic skills to raise money for a good cause. Western Mass News reporter Libby James has the story.
To be honest, I was humbled. I thought, just the outpouring that I got from the people was quite a bit. When I heard the children were involved, unbelievable. Just great kids.
Tom Riccardi is the owner of Mass Bird of Prey Rehab Center in Conway. During a storm last month, heavy winds brought down trees, causing severe damage to the cages and killing 3 birds. The community immediately jumped in to help after learning how much it would cost Riccardi to rebuild.
Children came into the classroom really concerned about what had happened because they know Tom from community events, but also because Tom lets people stop by and look at the raptors and the owls, and he educates them.
Jennifer Wheeler is a first-grade teacher at Conway Grammar School. She tells Western Mass News helping Riccardi became a whole school effort, with kindergartners designing calendars, first graders weaving pot holders and painting pinch pots, and third graders creating bookmarks. We spoke to third grader Martin, who is drawing birds of prey on bookmarks.
Mostly the ones that Tom Riccardi has.
Even one of the teachers joined in to sew little stuffed owls. Jeremy Bernaccioni, the kindergarten teacher, tells us when word spread about their efforts, other groups wanted to join in.
We've hooked up with a local organization in Greenfield who's donating the printing costs. So when we sell these at the local bookstore at World Eye, all the money goes right into Tom's fund to help the birds.
The school plans to sell the 90 items at a parent-teacher meeting at the end of March. The pinch pots, pot holders, and bookmarks will all go for $1 a piece. The calendars will be sold at the World Eye bookshop for around $12. All profits earned go directly to Riccardi.
Hopefully it'll result in Tom fixing those bird cages and having money left over to make other needed repairs.
I can't say it enough. Great kids. I was just overwhelmed.
If you're interested in purchasing a pinch pot, a pot holder, or a calendar, that information will be on our website, westernmassnews.com, under the blue As Seen on TV button. In Conway, Libby James for Western Mass News.